What is up? This is Edgar OtraVez, and here we are with another episode of the Floro Podcast. On today's show, I have Not My Cousin Dan, and we'll be talking about guilty pleasures. As always, it's always a pleasure talking to my good friend, Not My Cousin Dan. I hope you guys enjoy it too. If you ever find yourself in the need for a coffee mug or a throw pillow or t-shirt, you can find that kind of stuff over at shop.theflowrollpodcast.com. Also follow us on Instagram as The Flow Roll. Now on with the show. All right, welcome to another episode of the Flow Roll Podcast. This is Edgar OtraVez with my co-host, Not My Cousin Dan.
Hey.
So Emily, in the last podcast, she was like, "What am I? Am I your co-host, your cohort?" I'm like, "I didn't know. We need you to kind of, I don't know." This is like, she's like, "Co-host." I'm like, "All right, co-host it is."
Got to put a label on it.
We have to. All right. So, in today's podcast, we're doing guilty pleasures. So, like, you brought this.
It's another listener request podcast. We're getting listener requests.
Yeah,
enough people are listening to it and are into it that they're making requests.
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it because who doesn't have a guilty pleasure, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, most of mine are going to be food related. I don't think that'll be a surprise.
Yeah,
I mean, there are all kinds of guilty pleasures. Stuff you're not supposed to like. Stuff that you're supposed to actively make fun of.
Yeah.
Secretly you like it, you know?
Oh yeah. You're never going to admit that that's what you like, you know. But so why don't you shoot with one? Let's see what kind of guilty pleasure you got on you.
I'm going to kick it off. This is my most frequently indulged guilty pleasure. And it's food, right?
Okay.
And it's food that I know is garbage. I know tastes like crap. But you have a certain sentimentality for it.
Uh-huh.
And it's not just the food itself that's the guilty pleasure. It's the way that I eat it. Okay. Spaghettios. Good old-fashioned Spaghettios. And there's only one, well, for me, there are two proper ways to eat it, but there's the only proper way to eat Spaghettios is to just pop the can open and eat it straight out of the can. No heating it up, no cooking it, just Spaghettios straight out of the can.
Get out of here. You don't do that, do you? Absolutely.
It is the way to do it. And sometimes there's a whole category of this sort of guilty pleasure. But with Spaghettios in particular, I like to use it as a dip. Use Spaghettios as like a chip dip. Dip in there with Doritos scoops. Get the Spaghettios in there.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you know, it's like I'm kind of a foodie. Yeah. You know, I get serious about food. And I know what I'm saying is garbage. And like there is nothing good about Spaghettios other than you remember the first time you ever had Spaghettios, you know?
Oh, dude. And
that leads into kind of other guilty pleasures. I love using things that aren't dip as dip.
First of all, okay, so I want to explore this idea of Spaghettios as dip because I want to get a clearer picture of what you're doing here. So I imagine Not My Cousin Dan sitting at like the kitchen counter with an open can of Spaghettios.
Okay, no, you don't eat when you're talking about a guilty pleasure like this. You don't eat it like a human being. You're not sitting at a table or a counter or anything like that. You're sitting in your lazy boy while you're watching TV. and
Okay.
it's resting on your stomach because your stomach's big enough that it kind of sits out, and you rest it on your stomach.
Uh-huh.
So with the dip anyway, you pour it into a bowl,
Okay.
and then you take your bag of chips and you just dip them in the Spaghettios.
Okay, so you're sitting on your lazy boy armchair, feet are kicked up.
Of course.
You got your bowl with your cold spaghettios. And what kind of chip are you eating here?
Specifically, when I'm talking about dipping, I'm a big fan of Frito scoops.
Those are an ingenious little invention by
Yeah, and
Frito.
they're like a little thicker. There's a little more body to them than your average Frito. I mean, they're engineered food.
Yes.
I mean, let's also be clear. Fritos should be considered a guilty pleasure too, because that's not exactly a high quality food stuff.
No, it's not. It's not. But it's an ingenious little piece of food because you have it's perfectly, carved or or manufactured or however you want to call it, so that you can scoop up food. And I love it with like things like chili and beans, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've never thought of Spaghettios.
Hey, I lived alone for a long time.
So
Yeah.
when you scoop the Spaghettios, what is an optimal proportion?
Enough to fill the little scooper.
Okay. And what are you trying to get? You trying to get like some of the pasta or no pasta, most of the
No,
sauce?
this is Spaghettios we're talking about here. You can't really separate the two.
Okay.
The sauce and the rings are the same damn thing.
Oh shit. I wish you didn't tell me this. Now I want to try it.
Yeah.
I want to try it. I want to try it just to experience what your experience.
Although I'll tell you the thing about Spaghettios every once in a while, because I loved like the Spaghettios with the little hot dogs in it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I loved that. And I think I loved it because I didn't get it very often. My mom, she is from Poland. My grandmother ran a bakery in Chicago, and like she was a professional baker and a professional cook, And so like most of my food when I was a kid was very traditional, like traditional Polish food. I was the kid, the poor bastard kid who nobody would trade with at lunch because it was like I had head cheese sandwiches and stuff. Didn't really have too much of the Spaghettios or that kind of thing. And so like when I would have it, it was a luxury item. It was like months and months of begging for it, and finally mom caved in, And so I loved the Spaghettios with the little hot dog coins in it. And so every once in a while I'll buy a can of that, and it's like a reminder of, okay, that's a step too far because it's not good. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's gross. The little cut up hot dog coins just make it gross. Now, if I take my own hot dog, get a nice Vienna beef hot dog and cut it up, that's a different story. But don't go buying the can with the hot dog coins in it. That's a mistake.
No, for sure. I've tasted those hot dog coins. The only way I like those things if it's when they're fried. When they're like straight up fried, that's when they're good. But like, in the sauce.
Or like the Spaghettios with the meatballs in it. Also gross. I don't know what those meatballs are. I think they're Play-Doh. But kind of I guess I'm a purist when it comes to Spaghettios.
So you just want plain Spaghettios, no hot dog coins, no meatballs, just pasta and sauce. That's interesting. I have a similar kind of guilty pleasure that I have not indulged in many, many years. And every now and then, the little voice in my head says, "Oh, you should do that." And when I go to do that, my wife slaps my hand away and she says, "No." And thank God for that. But like the thing I used to do before I met my wife was whenever there wasn't any food and I was like too pressed for time or too lazy to make anything, I would get myself some Fruity Pebbles, pour it in a giant cup, like one of those 20-ounce cups.
Yeah.
The super cheap ones you would get at a dollar store.
Yeah. The plastic ones.
The plastic ones.
Where it's like if it's got anything printed on it, it washes off. And so it's just like streaky, crumbly on the outside. Yeah.
Yeah. Or there are all kinds of obnoxious colors like teal and purple or whatever. But anyway, like, and I would fill that sucker up with halfway with Fruity Pebbles and then fill it as much as I can with milk. And I would just not even spoon the stuff.
Just drink it. Yeah.
Drink
it. I've done it.
Fruity Pebbles.
Like,
go ahead.
Like, have you ever done, and there's like a scene, I think in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where the main guy does this, where you just take like a mixing bowl, like a big Tupperware bowl, and you just fill it. You basically pour an entire box of cereal in there, and then you just sit there and just power through it.
I didn't know that happened in Sarah Marshall. I saw that movie. I didn't see it all. I saw portions of it because like my sister was watching it, but so I didn't actually see it, but I know what it's about. And I didn't know they did that in that movie, but I have done that myself. And
and it's Fruity Pebbles. It's a magic cereal. Fruity Pebbles is like the best. And there's also, the boy discovered it, and I like it too. They make a s'mores cereal where it's like golden grams and little chocolate, like, basically like chocolate Captain Crunch sort of, and marshmallows in there. Oh, killer.
Yeah. So like one of my guilty pleasures that is kind of it's like I guess it's like every time I mention it, people are like, really? And I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with that? So like I don't tell people much that I like this, but it's I like that show Glee.
Yeah, that's definitely a guilty pleasure.
I don't understand.
That's on my list. It's one of those shows where you almost feel bad watching it.
Yeah.
Like you're not supposed to.
Like I'm not supposed to. And it's weird. And it's, I don't identify with any of the characters or anything. I just find it entertaining. I like that they sing, it's just like, I like the songs they sung, it's just like, it was very modern in terms of the choice of music.
And it was over the top, very melodramatic.
Yeah.
You're basically watching a musical soap opera about teenagers.
Right. And so, and I just enjoyed it. It was a show I would watch with my wife, and we loved it. And it was funny because the first time I discovered that show was when I was living in a condo I owned in Chicago, and we went up to the workout room. I jumped on the treadmill, and like always, when I jump on that treadmill, I would turn on the TV and then run while I watch stuff, right? And so I was flipping through the channels, and I landed on Fox, and there it was. It was like the pilot episode of Glee, and like I was watching for, I don't know, the first 5-10 minutes, and like in the first act, you get the introduction to some of the major characters. And so that's the part where they have to hook you, right? Man, they did a great job of hooking me because
got you right through the lip.
Right there, right at the beginning. Yes, totally. Because it was like I forgot her, was it Michelle? I can't remember her name anymore.
Leah Michelle, I think.
Leah Michelle, yeah. Leah Michelle is like, doing a voiceover of all this like little montage of her trying to be fabulous and at the same time getting bullied. But like the thing that hooked me was she was walking around and they drenched her in soda or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck is going on? And then they were like trolling her on Facebook, and I thought it was hilarious. And then I was like, okay, I got to watch this, because she's the lowest on the totem pole. She's got to climb.
Yep.
She's going to make that climb. And I was like, okay, you got me. I've never seen this kind of character be this low on the totem pole.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I got a kick out of that show too. As it starts out, she's like the lowest rung on the social totem pole, but she thinks she's like A-list. She thinks she's like the popular girl, you know?
Yeah. Oh no, but she's
Or she acts like she's the popular girl.
yes, there's a big portion, there's a big helping of delusion on her plate there. And
Yeah.
but she also realizes that she's not exactly there. So
Sure.
she's kind of living in two places at the same time. But yeah, it was like, okay, so she knows she's getting shit on, but one day she's gonna be a
Yeah.
star.
Right.
You know? And so I was like, okay, well, let's go for this ride. Show me where you're going. And but that was a guilty pleasure for a long time. I just thought it was I found everything about it really intriguing, and it was a lot of the show. And I guess it's a guilty pleasure because like I'm not gonna be able to talk to my jujitsu buddies about this fucking show.
Yeah, exactly.
They're looking at me
that's the definition of a guilty pleasure. It's something that you like, but you don't talk about it.
I don't talk about it unless it's on a podcast, right?
You don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You don't bring it up to your friends, you know.
No, because if I say, "Oh, dude, did you ever see?" You know, because they're sitting around talking about football or the last knockout or whatever, and then I'll be like, "Oh yeah, did you ever see that episode of Glee where this?" They're gonna be looking at me like, "What the fuck?"
Yep. It's we're attacking this podcast from a standpoint of vulnerability today because, I mean, there's nobody that I would choose to reveal that I like to sit around dipping Fritos into Spaghettios. You know, that's kind of a pathetic image. You know.
You see, but I've done that too. I mean, I haven't done it with you know Cheerios or Oreo or what is Spaghettios. I've done it with you know Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah.
So it's just like you know, yeah. I've been in the same position, just different food.
So Glee, you know, so since they haven't been around that much anymore, this is not an active guilty pleasure, but when I was in college, me and one of my friends, total guilty pleasure, soap operas, like daytime, As the World Turns, we would get into it, man. We would get into those characters and the intrigue and how ridiculous it was every day. Like there were even a couple of semesters, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, where we like enrolled in our classes and built our schedule around making sure we were home every day at whatever time it was that As the World Turns came on.
Wow. I can't say that I ever done anything like that. Let me see.
I'm not saying it's worth it. I'm saying it's a guilty pleasure. It's a guilty pleasure. I almost wish that I spoke and understood enough Spanish that I could watch telenovelas because they look awesome.
Oh, dude.
Telenovelas just look like just raising it up to 11, you know, cranking the amp up to 11 on the soap opera.
That is an interesting kind of point because my mom loves her goddamn soap operas and I can't stand them. And I think maybe that's why I don't like daytime soap operas because they resemble in some ways those Spanish soap operas.
Well, I mean, that's what telenovelas are. It's the same thing, just in Spanish, and it's all over the top.
Oh,
It's as if soap operas themselves aren't already over the top.
It's a little too much, and you can tell when some Latin person watches too much fucking soap operas because everything's like ¿Por qué? ¿Y qué? And I'm like, chill the fuck out. This is not fucking, you know, As the World Turns in Spanish. Like, chill your ass out. Like, fuck, you know, like it drives me nuts because there are some people that I know who do that, who I know who speak, when I speak to them in Spanish, I'm like, ooh, hold up.
Yeah. There was a while there I was trying to kind of force myself to learn Spanish. It didn't work, but I would watch on TV. There was like a morning news show sort of thing, sort of like a Regis and Kathy Lee kind of thing, but it was El Gordo y la Flaca.
Oh, El Gordo y la Flaca.
And yes. I would watch that every day, like hoping that I would get some Spanish out of it, you know, by immersion. Never happened.
Yeah. That's funny. There's a few. Man, Spanish TV was really naughty there for a minute. Now that's a guilty pleasure for sure. Like there was man, I probably watched shit that I shouldn't be watching. There was this one show called A la cama con porcel, and that translates to as uh to bed with porcel. And it was a racy variety show of some sort,
Okay.
or the skit show. And so I can't remember too much about it because I was really little when this show was on.
It was
But
like Spanish Benny Hill.
yes, that's kind of
Yeah.
what it was. It was kind of like that. And so they had skits, and there was like every joke was dirty, and I was just like, oh. And it was like, but they like the stupid show. There's got to be a YouTube of it someplace. But there was a song, and it was just the title of the show over and over again. A la cama, a la cama, a la cama con porcel. And it was just like these women singing, dancing in 90s or whatever. I was just like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, I think I was like 5 when this show came out. And I was just like, what is going on? And it was weird because in my household, like nobody paid attention to that. Like, oh, you're 5, you shouldn't be watching this. No, it was like I was 5. It was like 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm watching some dude run around a bed being chased by these women in 90s. And I was like, what's going on? I probably should not have been watching that now that
that's kind of funny because my parents, both of them were teachers. And so like we had limits on TV time and stuff like that. It was like, limits on, I didn't even have video games until I was like a teenager, and like we didn't have cable TV. The first time I ever had cable TV was in my dorm room in college. But we still had shows that they didn't want me watching, And so for a long time, I just assumed like they were scandalous or something like that. And like one of those shows, for whatever reason, my parents were like adamant they didn't want me watching Three's Company.
Really?
They were like really adamant about it. And so I didn't watch it. Like I would try to sneakily watch it sometimes when I was a kid, because it's like when you're a kid, it's like, well, it's got to be cool if they don't want me to see it, and I know I snuck a few episodes and I was like, that show's not for kids. So
yeah,
you don't know what it's about. It's not even like scandalous or anything. And then at some point I asked them about it when I was like in my 20s. I was like, you guys really had a problem with that show. Like, why didn't you want me to watch it? And they were like, oh, we didn't have a problem with it. We just thought it was stupid. You just thought it was a stupid show. And so, whatever.
Oh man. John Ritter, right? John Ritter.
Yeah.
Yeah. That show, man, now that I think about it, there's a lot of shit that my parents like should have stopped me from watching. And didn't kind of stop me. Like they sat in the room as we watched this stuff and they didn't think anything of it. Like, for example, Three's Company is one and the other one's Night Court.
Oh, I loved that show.
I thought that show was hilarious.
And my parents had no problem with me watching that show. And actually, like, if you compare them side by side, Night Court was a lot racier.
You think so?
Than Three's Company was. Like, yeah, I mean, Three's Company dealt with like sort of casual sex a little bit, not much considering it was made in the 70s and 80s. So, I mean, they could only take things so far. But Night Court, like one of the main characters was like a sexual deviant,
Yeah, I know.
Dan Fielding was kind of a lunatic, and almost every episode, like the B plot revolved around what kind of naughty sex stuff was Dan trying to get involved in.
And he was like really kind of out there with that whole sex thing too.
Yeah. But like my parents had no problem with Night Court and they liked that show. I love that show. I'll still go back and like look up reruns of it and like, yeah, man, it's super dated, but it's still fun to watch.
Yeah, that's another point. Like Three's Company, I don't think would hold up.
Probably. And also, it's probably not that relatable anymore.
I don't think so.
Because that whole situation, like the whole crux of the series was that you had 3 single people living together as roommates and one of them was a guy.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh my God, you can't do that. Whereas now that sort of thing is commonplace, or
Yeah.
if not commonplace, there's nothing even remotely scandalous about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that show doesn't hold up at all. The more I think about it, yeah.
I
That's
mean,
a good point too.
I haven't seen any episodes of it in years, but I would imagine like somebody watching it would in the context of now would be like, I do not understand why any of this is a problem.
Well, also like
Because they would play it for laughs. And I think if I remember, like, at least for the first 2 or 3 seasons, Jack, who was
John Ritter.
Ritter's character, had to pretend he was gay so that he could live in the apartment,
Yeah.
And so they played that for laughs and stuff. And I think that's where it would maybe be problematic.
Yeah.
But not just that. I just think I just don't think anybody would be able to relate to the situations anymore. Like, because there's no awkwardness around any of that stuff anymore.
Yeah, there isn't. But like also I think the one place that it's where it would really suffer would be like, for example, Don Knotts' character, Mr. Furley.
Mr. Furley.
He would constantly make fun of, John Ritter's character, Jack, for being gay. So he would have all these jokes and names and stuff they would call him. That would not do well.
Probably not. Although Don Knotts is a treasure. Oh, I would watch Don Knotts in anything.
He is great. He is great in that show too. It's just there's so many like, I can't even bring myself to say some of the things he says, but it's just like, there's a lot of name calling and it would not be cool by today's standards. But also the other guy, the guy before him, remember it was a married couple that owned the duplex or was managing that.
No, that wasn't, it was the Ropers. Yeah.
The Ropers. Yes.
Yeah. Stanley Roper and Mrs. Roper.
Yes. Stanley Roper or Mr. Roper would make fun of Jack with the same kind of stuff. It's just, it's just, yeah. It just would not make it today. It would get canceled in like a second.
Probably wouldn't make it off out of the writing room.
Oh no. I mean,
and whoever wrote it would be like, you're done,
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at like the Roseanne show, right? I mean, Roseanne got canceled or got like written out of her own show. It was crazy. It's now the Connors.
Yeah. I wish I could remember what she did, but I remember when she got written out of it, I was kind of like, good.
She got like all hopped up on, she was like drunk and up on antidepressants or off antidepressants. Something happened and she was on some kind of
Twitter. She went on like a Twitter rampage. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, that's one of those things where, man, let's not diverge into talking about politics or culture, but I will say, yeah, freedom of speech is a thing, but freedom of speech does not mean speaking without consequence.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Like the freedom of speech means, nobody you're not going to get arrested for saying something stupid. Nobody's going to make a law that says you can't say things, but there are plenty of things that you just shouldn't fucking say.
Yes.
And if you do say them, other people are well within their rights to exact consequences on you.
Yes, I agree. I think again, not to get too far down this path, but one of the things with law is they made these laws so that people would not get, for example, get into a fight, get hurt, to end up in the hospital, and there's all these kind of damages that are incurred, hospital, payments, etc. They wanted to kind of minimize that, right? But now what's happened is assholes.
Wait, what laws are we talking about here?
Just laws in general. Like, for example, assault and battery. Let's just go with that.
Okay.
Right.
I
So
got
like
it,
if you say something, I can't hit you. Right. If you say
Mhm.
something offensive, I can't hit you. Right. But now I have to sit here and take it. Well, I can't hit you. I can't really sue you. I guess I can sue you for what is it? Defamation of character? Is that what it is? Or is it
I don't know.
one of those?
Whatever.
But it's just like, it's like there's no consequence. Right. So
Mhm.
you're kind of getting away with doing with whatever you're having to say and just being a jerk. Right. So uh I agree with you. There's got to be consequences. If granted, maybe
Yeah.
assault shouldn't be one of them, but there should be some kind of consequence. People should not get to be jerks.
Well, and I think people do pay consequences. Like, look at Roseanne. Look at the never-ending list of people who got taken down by like Me Too. You
Mhm.
know, yeah, they said stupid shit, and nobody was stepping on their right to freedom of speech. But there are cultural consequences to doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
To saying stupid things, or if not stupid things, angry things. I think, and I think, especially now in the social media age, we've gotten to a point where like so many people have just lost any sense whatsoever about, you don't have to respond to everything.
Yes.
You don't have to share every thought that comes to the tip of your mind. You don't have to say every little thing that comes up to you. You can, sometimes it's okay to not respond to things. Sometimes it's okay to not share your thoughts. Sometimes it's okay to just keep shit to yourself.
Yes. Yes.
You know?
Like there's if you don't, I mean, whatever happened to the old adage of like, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. You
Yeah.
know? That-
And I
you know,
think we've kind of lost that.
well, it's become kind of like because of social media, it's become like the flipping off while you're driving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't catch
Right.
me. I'm in my car. You
Mhm.
don't really know who I am. You might see my license plate, but
Right.
you're not going to come to my house, right?
Yeah. Right.
Unless you follow me. And that's what happens. Sometimes people get found out. They get
Yeah.
doxxed or whatever.
Right.
And there's consequences to
Well,
things.
and that's the thing with social media is people have this because of the way it started, because of the nature of the internet as it used to be. You could do certain things like that with a certain amount of anonymity. You could show your ass on social media and be fine, you know? Well, things have changed. There's no such thing as anonymity anymore. No matter how much you want it, if you say something stupid or tweet something stupid, you're you can't hide from it. You can't hide from it. It may not come back to haunt you, but when it does come back to haunt you, you really don't have any right to sit back and say, well, but freedom of speech and blah, blah, blah. No, yeah, you were free to say it because you said it. Nobody stopped you from saying it. And
Mhm.
now that you've said it, people are allowed to be mad at you
Mhm.
and people are allowed to take consequences. But whatever.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the guilty pleasures.
I believe it's your turn.
Oh man. Well, I'm gonna switch to music.
Okay.
Guilty pleasure. It's hard for me to admit this publicly, but I love the band Journey.
I don't know if that's really a guilty pleasure.
Oh, that's totally a guilty pleasure. They're ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but Steve Perry's got those lungs on him, man.
Yeah.
And those songs, their songs have hooks.
Yeah.
They hook you in and suck you in. There's.
It's good music. I like it. I like that. I mean, I like all that kind of error. There's like I have a playlist and
Yeah.
that's one of the songs and
Yeah.
quite a few songs of that
And
nature on there.
and I don't know if Journey really qualifies as a hair band.
I don't know if they
I
do
don't
either.
I don't know if they do, but I mean it's that style of music. Just a big difference is that Steve Perry could actually sing and most hair bands it was just like growling or shouting, you
Mm.
know. But man, it's just music that gets to me.
I I like Journey. I like Journey. I like that song. Not that it's Journey. This is this other
Yep.
song. Built this city on rock and roll.
Yeah, Jefferson Starship, I think, or just Starship at that
Starship,
time.
I think. Yeah.
You know.
Like I like that song. It's like all the kind of same kind of music, and I
Yep.
have a playlist.
Yeah, that sort of early 80s, really sort of big bombastic music.
Yeah.
Not like metal at all, or
No.
but like pop, power pop. There's
It's a new genre now. Power
but
pop.
and then like with Journey, I always try to sing along, and I can't sing along because nobody can sing along with Steve Perry. Nobody
Yeah.
can sing like that.
Yeah.
No, but I'll sit there and I'll try,
Yeah.
and I'll just have cracking voice and everything.
Yeah. And it's funny because
But
it's a song and it's music, but I don't know if you can dance to it.
no, you can't dance to Journey.
No.
You might be able to dance to We Built This City, you know.
uh,
Now that song's in my head. We built this city on rock and roll.
yeah. Yeah. It's great. I'll pop it on and the kids start dancing their heads off, but it's just like,
Yeah,
kids can do that to a song like that, right? The grown
yeah,
adults, not so much.
no, no. And yeah, the 80s were not exactly an era of great music. There was some good music, like the Eurythmics were friggin' awesome. And but yeah, I mean most really popular 80s music was kind of bad.
I don't know. Guns N' Roses was 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, Guns N' Roses was 80s.
I like Guns N' Roses. Guns
You
N' Roses.
gotta like Guns N' Roses was awesome.
Yeah. And I
And they
don't,
they were the biggest thing, you know? And they came around really when I almost feel like people were starving for new rock stars because the Rolling Stones were still huge. A lot of like 70s and 60s bands, even like the Rolling Stones, were still the biggest names. Aerosmith from the 70s was still like the biggest name. And then Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue came along, and then you had like a new generation of those like superstars,
yeah.
absolute superstar rock bands, and they brought a new sound to it. They were basically metal that got a little softer and turned
Yes.
into hard rock.
Yes, I agree. It was kind of like it's kind of flirting with pop music,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, but yeah, because in the like again, you still had the Rolling Stones and other big 60s rock and roll bands. And then, the 70s bands like Aerosmith and AC/DC were still huge in the 80s, just huge. Ozzy Osbourne, you know, and yeah, I think Guns N' Roses. I'm probably blanking out, but Guns N' Roses and like Motley Crue.
John Bon Jovi.
John Bon Jovi is another guilty pleasure, absolute guilty pleasure.
Yes,
And yes, it is guilty. You should be embarrassed
I am.
to admit that you like John Bon
I
Jovi, but
I like
I love me some John Bon Jovi.
I love John Bon Jovi too, and it's funny because we were here and there, and I think I've told you this, but like Emily knows this. I'll sing the kids,
Yeah.
so that they go to sleep or whatever. And sometimes it's just me singing. Like it's just me singing. Like my daughter's like, sing this and sing that. And now she's gotten to the point where she like knows the songs and is singing along. And I'm like, I thought we were going to sleep here. This is not a fucking concert, just go to sleep. But so the songs that she she knows now are John Bon Jovi songs like Living on the Prayer,
Oh
uh,
yeah. Yeah.
etc. So it's just like we were at a we were we were at this like Disney cruise concert thing. All right. And so we're on this Disney cruise and they have a little concert and they have their like performers like up on the stage singing songs and stuff. And one of the songs they sang was John Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer. And so my daughter's like, "Oh, I love
Yes.
this song," and she starts singing along with the song.
Mhm.
And then one of our relatives was standing next to us and said, like, "How does she know this song?" I'm like, "It's my fault."
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I sing it to her as a lullaby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds more absurd when you say it.
Uh,
But no, I love all that Journey music. I mean, one of the songs in the beginning of the Glee show is a Journey song.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
So anyway, here, so I'll give you another one of my guilty pleasures here. Um, this one is more TV stuff. It's Desperate Housewives.
You know, I have never seen an episode of Desperate Housewives, but I'm not going to shame you.
No,
Not much, just a little bit.
You should.
Are you a Samantha? Are you a Samantha? Is that
I don't remember any of the names anymore. It's been a while, but like there's been a couple of times where we're like, scrolling through our feed on the streaming services, and it'll pop up, and I'll be like, "Hey, you want to watch an episode?" And my wife was like, "Yeah, sure." And I'm like, "Yes, let's watch some." It's
Yeah.
like, so we're watching Housewives. I don't know what it is about that show. I mean, sure, there's pretty women in the show, right? Like all of the women are beautiful, right? But it's the I think it's like,
dude, when I asked you if you were a Samantha, I totally had it confused with Sex in the City.
oh no,
Totally different. Okay, Desperate. Sorry, I'm gonna
no.
bring it back. Desperate Housewives. Okay, I'm on the same page with you
Okay,
now.
yeah. Now I know what
Again,
what you meant by Samantha.
another show that I've never seen an episode of. But there you
Yeah,
go.
Sex in the City. Yeah, no, I wouldn't watch that. Yeah, nor will I shame anybody else for having that as a guilty pleasure. But because I mean, I have no room to talk. But the Desperate Housewives, they all live on this. It's like a neighborhood, right? Hysteria Lane, and so they all live on this block, and there are the different people that live on this block. You know, they have relationships, they cheat on each other. It's a fucking soap opera, right? But there's quite a bit of comedy played along with it, and it's a little less. It's higher. It's a higher production value, right, than your regular soap opera. So they shoot on what appears to be film, and the music isn't as canned, but there's pretty candy music on there, right? So it's like everything's like a dun dun dun. Oh, she's sneaking in the house, dun dun dun. And so it's just like it's all overplayed, right? But for some reason, it's not nearly as bad, and it might just be because it's on film. I don't know. Like,
I think it's the production values play a lot into it because there's a lot of like primetime soap opera-y stuff that if you just like step back from it and think about it in terms of the characters and the things that they actually do and the way the plot meanders along, that's stuff that would fit in like an episode of All My Children or something. But you got higher production values, and it's on in prime time, so you don't think about it the same way.
But exactly, and it's a guilty pleasure because I'm watching a show about women, and but it was fun because I would watch it with my wife, and then we would talk like, you could believe that? Can you believe what just happened?
Yeah. My partner used to try to get me to watch Grey's Anatomy with her all the time. And I tried, Lord help me, I tried, but I just could not. I could not. It didn't work for me.
Wow. Yeah, I tried to. Like, I forgot who, I think it was like a former girlfriend or somebody tried to get me to watch that. And I tried to, and I was like,
just couldn't do it. Couldn't get into it.
So give me another one of yours.
Is Desperate Housewives streaming anywhere?
Oh, I'm pretty sure you can find it someplace. I don't know.
I might give it a shot.
Check it out. It's just fun, but yeah, it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like, I would watch with my wife, and that's what made it fun. I think a lot of these guilty pleasures too center around who I'm watching it with.
Yeah.
So like that was one of the shows that my wife and I would watch. Like like my, just not to talk about my wife too much, but she doesn't like any of like the mystery or horror or anything that could kind of make her anxious. She
Yeah.
doesn't like getting anxious. And so it's hard to find stuff to watch with her. And this is one of those shows that was just kind of fun to watch with her because
Yeah.
they had a little, like, there's a little intrigue, a little mystery,
Sure.
but it was just enough to like be able to like pass her standards.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If we're gonna stay on TV shows, a guilty pleasure for me is like the whole genre of like uh, the teen sort of coming of age soap opera shows, like Dawson's Creek.
Wow.
Oh, that stuff sucks me in. I don't know why. I can't understand it. It makes no sense to me, but I get into those shows. When I was it because Dawson's Creek came on while I was in college is when it started. And that show just slapped me upside the head and got into my brain. And I still easily get sucked into that stuff. Like there's a show, I think it's on Sci-Fi, but they have it on Netflix called The Magicians.
Uh-huh.
It's basically, teen coming of age soap opera, just that they have magic and are fighting against the end of the world type of thing,
Oh, really?
Sort of a Buffy the Vampire Slayer sort of vibe to it, But yeah, I just get sucked into those shows, and they're awful and they're stupid, but I love them.
Yeah. I I have one just like that. And I actually skipped over it because I didn't want to mention it because I thought I was doing too much TV. But Buffy the Vampire Slayer is on my list of things that I'm.
Yeah, I feel like that's not, like 20 years ago, maybe a guilty pleasure.
Uh-huh.
Now that show is truly like a cult classic phenomenon because it was Joss Whedon, and Joss Whedon took over Hollywood and is basically responsible for every movie that gets made now. And so now it's like the guilty pleasure of let's look at where he came from,
Yeah. Joss Whedon has some, there's a few reasons why it's a guilty pleasure. Because first of all, the title, right? It's ridiculous. There's a woman named Buffy, or a girl. She's a girl.
Yeah.
And she kills vampires, right? And her name is Buffy, and it's just weird, right? So it's just, but the show just gets wackier and wackier as the years go on. But the other problem with that show is sure, there's plenty of girl power, and who doesn't like girl power, right? But the problem with that show is like you said, Joss Whedon made this show, and there's been a lot of trouble with Joss Whedon as of late. Apparently, he's gotten a divorce because he's been kind of, I guess, using his position for.
Oh no!
Yeah,
really?
For naughtiness. Yes, he's gotten himself quite a bit of trouble, and so I don't. I think he's kind of been, just kind of been shut out of Hollywood. He did that movie.
I didn't know any of this.
Yeah, it kind of started kind of boiling to the top or whatever with the whole Justice League movie. So because what happened is, you heard Zack Snyder, he stepped down in the middle of production of that movie, and then Joss Whedon stepped in to kind of finish it off.
Yeah, and it was a big for all because now you had the same guy who's responsible for Marvel doing DC.
Well, I mean, there's that part of it too, right? But then like there's a lot of controversy around it, or a lot of weirdness, because like Zack Snyder, he stepped down because he was dealing with the passing of his daughter. She committed suicide.
Oh boy.
And so that's why he stepped down. And so because he was trying to kind of push forward through that and he just couldn't do it anymore. And so he had to step down. Joss Whedon got tapped to come in and do or finish it off. And so he took a lot of the footage that was already created and then made new footage, shot new footage, and kind of treated some people really poorly in the process. And I don't understand why. Specifically the character that plays Cyborg,
Okay.
or the actor that plays Cyborg, he was really poorly treated by Joss Whedon. He says that he's been kind of I guess there was supposed to be more story to his character, and Joss Whedon cut it all out. And I don't want to yell racism. I don't know if that's really kind of what happened here. I think he was just being a jerk. Joss Whedon was, or maybe, I don't know. Like, again, I don't know what happened. Maybe it was just a misinterpretation from the actor of Joss Whedon's kind of methods. But I guess almost everybody was complaining about their treatment on set by Joss Whedon. Also, so maybe he just didn't want to be there, or maybe they gave it to him when it was like really kind of too late in terms of like when it was supposed to be launched and stuff, and kind of like didn't treat people kindly, was just trying to get things done, was more concerned with timeline. I don't know what the reason was. Because it's not what I've typically heard about Joss Whedon. But then other things started coming up about his kind of behavior with women on set and stuff like that, and him using
that's a real shame to hear.
Yeah. There's also a cringy Wonder Woman script that he wrote way back when, and I read a few pages of. I don't know if it's actually the script that he handed out, but it reads like a steamy, novel. And it's just like, wait a minute, why is there so much of this in there? Isn't this just a script? Why do we need all that? So I don't know if what I read is really the script, but supposedly it is, because you find out on the internet, you don't know if what you're reading is real. So, but anyway, that's Joss Whedon, and that's a big downer. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us another one?
Oh boy, I don't know. I got to think about this. I didn't make a list. I thought I would just flow with it, because I have a lot of guilty pleasures. There are a lot of things that I do that I just immediately feel guilty about it. And I'll go with another food one. And I don't know how guilty I should really feel about this. But as a grown man, I feel bad about it. I love me some ramen. Any kind of ramen, instant ramen, any kind of it. I love it. I'll go to the H Mart and I will buy like an entire basket full of the different kinds of ramen that they have. And I could just eat ramen every day and be happy for the rest of my life.
I don't know if that's a guilty pleasure.
I love that stuff.
I don't know if that's a guilty pleasure. That's
like, I feel guilty about it because, like, as a grown adult, I should take pleasure in, and I do take pleasure in cooking real food,
Oh, I see.
But man, there's something about those noodles.
I like me some of those hot ramens. I like ramen. I like ramen.
There's some of those hot ramen that they like. There's the one that has like I think they're called volcano noodles, and it's got like a chicken that's on fire on the package, and it's so hot that you eat it and it's like you start hallucinating. It's so hot that, like, it's the kind of hot, like if you go to a Thai restaurant and you order hot tom yum soup and you just smell it.
Yeah.
And it's like getting pepper sprayed, I love that stuff. I love it. I love it.
I enjoy just looking at that package because you sent me a picture of that package.
Yeah.
There's a chicken. It's a cartoon chicken, right? And it's, really well drawn. It's like a fun little illustration. And this cartoon chicken is like his eyes are bulging and he's breathing fire. Like the fire is coming out of his mouth because he ate something spicy. And it just makes me laugh. And I see it all the time when I go to H Mart or whatever. Even some supermarkets have it. But I also love me that ramen, like that hot ramen. I like the spicier the ramen. I don't care how cheap it is, the better. And if it's not
something, go ahead.
And if it's not spicy, I make it spicy. I pour stuff into it, cut jalapenos, get chile de árbol, put it in it and make it spicy. And I pour a bunch of lime in it.
Or that like the chili oil. You just sprinkle some chili oil in there while it's cooking, I can't get enough of it. I love it. And it's like, it's so spicy that your lips go numb for like half an hour after you eat it, spicy is important. It makes me sad when people don't like spicy food.
It makes me sad.
Like, especially, you go to the Chinese restaurant and like, I will dump that hot yellow Chinese mustard, like to the point where, again, like just smelling it is enough to make your eyes water.
Not to get out of hand here, but just on the topic of spiciness, if you're a man and you do not like spicy food, like you don't have to have it. You can't. I don't want you like eating spicy food every night, every day, every hour of the day. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you go to a place where they serve spicy food and you say no to the spicy food, or you don't put salsa or something hot on your food, something spicy, I question your manhood. Like I'm like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Man. You are not a man.
It's kind of not fair, my man. No, because there are a lot of people, especially in this country, who never venture farther past cheeseburgers.
Not my problem. There's something wrong with you.
But if I could have everything spicy, I would have it spicy. Like every once in a while, I actually recommend trying this. Just try it. And you'll be shocked. You like yourself PB&J, right? Everybody likes PB&J sandwich.
Yes. Yes. Tell me more.
Strawberry PB&J sandwich. Squirt some sriracha in there.
What?
Totally.
What?
Totally do it. Strawberry and spicy goes together really well. Oh. And like peanut butter and spicy goes together well. Like pad thai.
What are you doing to me? You are the devil on my shoulder.
I went for a while there where I was putting sriracha in everything. It doesn't work. And sriracha isn't even like my favorite hot sauce, but it works in just about everything. It doesn't work so well in oatmeal, but it works. And because it's like that chili pepper base, where it's pasty. Mm-hmm. There's a sweetness to it.
Yes.
And so it, like with strawberry on a PB&J, trust me, just try it.
Damn it. Normally, like if it's something that's like way out there, I'd be like, nah, it's okay. But this
is like, nothing like a spice. And you know what got me to do that? My mom, as a joke once, bought me a jar of jalapeno jelly.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's fun.
And I made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out of it. And it was like, holy cow, a spicy PB&J is good. And then one day I was just sitting there making myself a strawberry peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I saw the sriracha bottle sitting there. And I was like, oh, you know what?
Okay, so how much do you put on there just to kind of make sure I do this right?
Not that much. And it's not about making it too spicy. It's about sriracha has a pretty strong flavor.
Yeah.
And so if you put too much of it, the flavor takes over and that's not so great. You just put like a couple of like a drop, like a couple of like little pea-sized spots
Okay.
and then just spread it in there with the jelly.
Just enough to kind of change the color, maybe.
Yeah. Enough so that you get that little hit of spicy.
Okay.
I'm talking about it like this is some kind of gourmet meal, like PB&J.
So this is awesome.
And
I want to try this now. Jesus Christ.
or you know and I don't know why it's not more popular. What's it called now? The actual name for it. They just call it chili paste in like it's always on the shelf right next to the sriracha, where it's like it's chili paste.
Okay.
And it's actually like you can see the seeds of the chili peppers in there, you know?
Yeah.
Sambalelic is, I think, what it's called.
Oh man. Huh.
But it's like more concentrated sriracha, basically. They always have it. If you go to a Thai restaurant and sometimes Chinese restaurant, they'll have it on the table in like a little dish with a tiny little spoon.
Yeah.
You know? That stuff.
Yeah.
Chili paste. That stuff is so much better than sriracha.
I love all that stuff. Anywhere I go, whether it's like a Mexican restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, Thai restaurant, I don't care where it is. If I'm eating like if the food I'm eating complements spicy,
yeah,
I will pour all that shit into it.
Yeah.
I'll just like I'll just sit there and squeeze it all in there.
There's a place in Lincolnshire, a restaurant called Big Bowl.
Oh yes,
and I think it's a chain. But
yeah, it is.
And I used to go there for lunch with some frequency because I worked near there. And they would, you know, I'd get, you know, pad thai or whatever noodles, and I would like scoop the entire freaking dish of that stuff into my noodles because everything they serve there is bland, you know, not bland like in flavorless, but they make everything not spicy because most people don't want it spicy, or people who say they like this is pretty regular. People who are like, oh yeah, I like spicy food. Yeah. Or you give them real spicy food and their head just explodes.
I have recently done something to myself that I regret now, but I had gotten on. Oh, so like my wife went and found like homegrown ghost peppers.
Oh, nice.
Dude, ghost peppers are fucking hot, bro.
I haven't had ghost pepper yet. No, I mean, I've had like ghost pepper, something flavored with ghost pepper, but it's always so like they clearly are erring on the side of caution when they serve it, you know?
Oh, for sure. Because people don't know what they're getting into.
Yeah. Right.
You know? And so like we bought these ghost peppers from like a neighborhood, like someone in the neighborhood, they were growing them in their yard and they gave it to us or sold it to us for like $1 or something silly, right? Because they had so many. So we brought these home, and I've never seen them fresh. I've always seen them kind of like dry, like in like the pepper kind of jars and stuff. But this thing was like, they were red, like redder than red, right?
Like warning you.
Yes.
Like red like a warning sign.
Red like a stop sign, yeah. And so then like, I know they're hot. I wanted to respect the heat, right? So all I did for the first time I tried them is I cut the nib off, just because they're almost like they're plumpy, and then they come to like a teardrop tip, right? And so I cut that little tip off. It was like maybe two centimeters, a centimeter long. I just cut the tip, just the tip, and I put it on a taco or whatever I was eating. And holy shit, I was on fire. I was just like, holy crap. If the tip is hot, how much worse
what
is
happens?
The rest?
You get into the seeds, right?
Yeah. So I decided that right off the bat, after that experience, right off the bat, the first thing I did is I cut it in half and put the rest in the fridge. And I said, I don't want to be tempted to eat the whole thing. Yeah. So like I ate half of it, and my stomach hurt for like that whole night, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad. It was like, it was warm. I took some Tums. I was good. But
that's almost something exciting about it, isn't it? Like when you eat something that's too hot for you,
Yeah.
And if you're anything like me, I don't run into that too often anymore, just because I love hot stuff so much. But you eat something that's too hot for you, it's almost exciting.
Yes.
It's not like you're like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? No,
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, I totally just discovered something new.
Oh.
I have to work up to this.
Exactly. And but there's more. So like I cut that piece up and I ate it, but we have like a whole basket. There's at least 10 of these things, right?
Yeah.
And so my wife is like, well, I bought you these things, or I got you these things. Don't waste them. And so I'm like, well, you're right. Right. It's like, I can't waste them.
Yeah.
I got to try to eat this stuff. So then, one night, I was working on like a private client stuff. So I jumped on the computer. I was working on the computer and I said, I want a little something, a little excitement, a little something. I'm not hungry. I just want something to kind of like, keep me busy as I'm working. Right. So all I did, I wasn't trying to make anything fancy. I wasn't trying to like knock it, be fucking, anybody. I wasn't trying to be Gordon Ramsay or anything. I just cut up some avocado, poured some salt on it, poured some lime on it. Like I didn't even like mush it up. I wasn't trying to make guacamole.
Yeah.
I just sliced it up, poured some salt on it, lime, and then I cut up a pepper, this time a whole pepper, like a dumbass. And I sliced it all up into little slices and threw it on top. Right. So, I brought it up to my office, sat in the front of the computer and just typed away. And so the first bite, I, pick up a slice and I make sure I get a slice of the pepper on the avocado too. So I drench it all. Meanwhile, it's sitting there kind of steeping itself in the lime, right? So that lime is now hot. The lime juice is now hot on this thing. So I swirl it around, not really thinking what I'm doing. And I put this shit in my mouth and I was like, oh, that's good. Right. So cause it's hot. And so I'm sitting at the computer. I'm like, like I'm doing Lamaze, like I'm having a baby. And so I'm like, I'm typing, right? But like you're on fire, right? So you're like typing faster and shit. So then I start popping them all in my mouth, not really thinking what I'm doing. And
no, man.
Oh, dude, I finished it like in 10 minutes. I probably should have taken like 30 minutes to eat all this, but I did it all in like 10 minutes. And by the time I was done, I was done. Like I was done with the night because I was like, I can't work anymore. I'm like, my face is red. My eyeballs are tearing. My nose is running. Like, I'm like salivating because I'm on fire, And I'm sitting there. I was like, I can't work. I got up. I went and got some water, drank some water. That didn't help because I was legit on fire. And I was like, I've never felt this level of heat before. It was bad. But then it did not take long before it hit my stomach.
Yeah.
And then I was fucked for the rest of the night, dude.
You know what you got to do? Well, if you ever do this again, it's two things. They always say milk, right?
Yeah.
And a big glass of milk. But it works better than water, but it doesn't do much. But Benadryl. Take a Benadryl. Because a lot of what's going on with the spicy food is fundamentally a histamine reaction. Your body is like freaking out. And so and that's why like your nose starts running and your eyes start watering. You're basically having an allergic reaction.
Dude, it was so bad. That Benadryl. Wow, that's amazing. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, because I sat there and so like that, this eventually subsides, right? The face stuff. But when I went to bed at night, there was so much shit going on in my stomach. I took like 4 like Tums.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I finally went to sleep like at 2:00 in the night, in the morning. And I was just belly aching the whole night. I was like, and my wife's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I had a whole ghost pepper. She's like, why are you doing that? I'm like, well, you bought them.
You told me not to waste them. This is all your fault.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there. And so then ever since then, because I went through maybe 3-4 more peppers. I really tried to finish them, but I couldn't. And I went through 3 or 4 more peppers. And now everything I eat is not hot enough, and
Sure.
and it's
Yeah.
making me sad, bro, because I feel like I
Yeah.
can't taste my food.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's what's funny is like when you start enjoying hot food, spicy food, which for me, that wasn't like, I was probably like a teenager when I started really enjoying spicy food. You go through like the phases where I think most people, at least in the US, most people's first exposure to spicy food is Mexican food. Probably. Jalapenos, most likely. And then you go and you start having like Thai food or Vietnamese food or Indonesian food. And it's a whole different world of spicy. Like it does not compare. Mexican food just does not. The spiciest Mexican food cannot compare with like the entry level spicy Vietnamese food or actually Chinese food too. Like spicy Chinese food. It's just not the same. It's a different kind of spicy altogether.
It's a different kind of spicy.
And I was used to a certain kind of spicy because horseradish has always been like part of my cultural palate. And horseradish is you can't hide from horseradish. But it's a different kind of spicy. And so, but then you go through like these phases. So like your introduction to it's like Mexican food, and then you start having spicy Asian food and the different kinds of Asian foods that are spicy. And you just keep like working through, and then you get to Indian food. And like Indian spicy, there is nothing that is going to be hotter than Indian spicy. And if like you go to an Indian restaurant, and usually they have like on the menu, like they have, five, like a scale of 1 to 5 on how spicy you want your food. And if any Indian restaurant, you just say, "Can I get it Indian spicy?"
Yeah.
It's a whole different level. And they usually they're reluctant to do it, But if you ask for, "I want this Indian spicy," you will see through time. You eat the food and you start seeing through time. It's so spicy.
Oh shit.
It's crazy.
Dude, that's interesting.
And I love it. I love it.
That is interesting that you say that, because I felt like I felt like I was lightheaded when I was having that pepper. I felt like I would be high. Like this must be what it's like to be high. I was sitting there, I was like, because I was not together with, and I was like, how does this happen with spice? But in terms of like Indian food, you and I have eaten at Indian restaurants. I have not eaten Indian food to that level. I'm afraid to, because Indian food gives me the shits.
Well,
it's
part of the price you pay, my man.
I don't have the stomach for Indian food. I probably don't even have the stomach for regular hot food anymore either, because I have ruined my stomach.
Well, man, I mean, if you're eating ghost peppers just straight up like that, you've got the stomach for it.
No, I don't. Every time, like my mouth doesn't taste it, but I'm like pouring spice on, like, for example, I'm pouring, red pepper on a pizza, right? Mm-hmm. And now, by the way, regular red pepper, to me, I'm like, what is wrong with this red pepper? I give it to my wife. It's like, does this red pepper taste like anything? It's like, yeah, it's hot. And I'm like, I thought it was like stale or something. There's something wrong with this. And she's like, no, there's nothing wrong with it. And I'm like, crap. That's when I realized, oh shit, like my level has just gone up, and it's going to take me a while before I can taste food the way I want to taste it.
Yeah.
So like now I have a little canister, a little, container of ghost dried red peppers that I throw on my pizza, just so that I can have a little flavor. And even that is not hot enough now.
See, now I'm going to have to go out and buy like some dried ghost peppers. I don't know, you know where to find it.
I'll take a picture and send it to you, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, can you get it at like a Whole Foods?
I don't know where my wife got it. I think she ordered it. I don't know where she got it from.
Okay. All right.
But I'll send you a picture. But like,
Yeah, because I try to be careful because I know I like spicy and I like spicy that hurts.
Yes.
I enjoy it, but like I don't want to ruin every food. Because like my favorite hot sauce is it's the Tabasco Chipotle sauce.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little smoky and it's not really that spicy. But like I don't want to get to the point where I can't enjoy that because it's not spicy enough.
That's where I'm at right now. It's making me sad. Everything.
I guess is spicy food its own guilty pleasure?
I
I don't
don't
feel
know.
like it is because it's not something you should be embarrassed about. But like, I don't know about you. I can't cook spicy food the way that I like it with any of the people in my life because they can't eat it.
Yeah, it's a problem in my house as well because especially now, like I have to eat stuff really hot now if I want to enjoy it, and I'm the only one who can do it.
Mhm.
Like, but like even my cousins who also enjoy stuff, like sometimes I'll go over there and he's like, I got this really hard jar and stuff. Like, oh, dude, you know what? I would love to, but I don't want to end up in the hospital.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
because I don't know if I told you the story, but one time I went over to my cousin's house and he got this jar of jardiniere, right? And he's like, dude, check this out. It's super hot. It's got like, and it says on the jar, it was like really silly, right? It's
Mhm.
very, very hot. I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, what do Italians know about hot? Like, come on. He's just like, give it
Yep.
here. Yeah, I said, give it here. Let me try it, right? So then he's like, okay, bro, you don't know what you're getting into. I'm like, no, 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 give it here. So he gives it to me and he gives me a flour tortilla that he made, right? He makes this fresh flour tortilla. He warmed it up for me and he gave it to me. And it's like, how are you going to eat it? I'm just like, you want some beans and stuff with it? And I'm like, no, no, no. I just want to taste it. I want the flavor. I just want to have something to kind of hold it in, right? So that's what I'm using the tortilla for. So I scoop a bunch of the jardiniere and I'm talking scoops, pop, pop, pop. Because I'm thinking
Yeah, man.
jardiniere does not get that hot.
Right. Yeah.
Roll, poured maybe a little salt on it, rolled it up, started eating that sucker. And by the time I finished that, I was literally on the floor. And I was like, and it's just my cousin, my cousin's like, I told you, man, you all right? I was like, I don't know, man. And so I was sitting there, I'm like, and I told my wife, I was just like, I think we have to go home. And so my wife is like upset but scared too. So
Yeah.
she drives us home, right? And I'm sitting in the car and my stomach just felt like I had like a boulder in it that was just
Uh-huh.
bouncing off the walls in there. And I was dying, bro. I was dying. And I was thinking in my head, shit, I'm gonna have to go to the hospital. Like I hate that thought. That happens a lot to me, which is kind of stupid, but it's just like it was one of those moments. It's like, damn it, I'm going to the hospital, aren't I? You know? So I'm sitting there, I'm holding my stomach. I'm like, oh, I'm like in pain. And then we get home and the wife opens the door, I run in and I'm thinking maybe I should try to using the bathroom, maybe I should throw up or maybe poo or
Oh,
whatever.
no, no, that's the worst.
Throwing
If
up.
you throw up after you eat something, oh, no, 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 no.
No, so what I did was I went upstairs and I actually sat down and let it out, and then I was done. I was fine.
Yeah.
After that I was like, okay, like it wasn't pleasant, none of
Uh-huh.
it was pleasant, but I was fine after that. And I was just like, oh, thank God. And so I'm like I'm relieved, right? Like it's over. And so, but still stuff still hurts, but it's not like I'm going to the hospital hurts. It's like, oh, okay, you'll get over
Yeah.
it. And my
Yeah.
wife is like, you're so stupid. Like, why'd you do that? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yes, I know I deserve this.
Yeah. 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 All right, man. Next guilty pleasure. It's you.
Oh, okay. So one guilty pleasure that I have on my list is juvenile comedies. And
So like the stuff that you see on Nickelodeon, like Keenan and Kel.
no, more
Oh,
like grown adults
oh,
being acting like
okay.
idiots.
Like Step Brothers.
Like Step Brothers. I like Grown Ups a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know if that's a guilty pleasure.
well,
I don't know.
the number one on that list is Jackass.
Yeah, okay. Jackass is Yeah, I think that's a guilty pleasure. I love watching Jackass though. I love those movies. I don't know why actually, because they're torture to watch.
Some of them are, because in some
You
places
know?
it's like it's dragging, right?
There, so there was one time I was hanging out with some friends of mine, and I forget which Jackass movie it's in, but they do the bungee underpants, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm over at my friend's house, and we're watching that on TV at their house. And my friend's mom walks in the room, and my friend Matt is in there. And my friend Matt's got kind of a reputation for being the silliest of all of us, you know?
Uh-huh.
And she walks in the room and sees them doing bungee underpants. And she automatically assumes that we're watching like home videos that we made ourselves. And her immediate response, she saw the TV for like 3 seconds and she's like, "Oh my God, Matt, is that you?" And we all started laughing because it's like, no, we're watching Jackass. But I'm glad that's what you think of us, you know?
Oh, dude, Jackass. Jackass is a movie that just keeps on giving. Like all those Jackass movies. And they're going to make a 4, apparently.
Oh, but they'll die. They'll die. They're all old men now.
No, they're indestructible. They're going to be indestructible forever.
Oh, no, they're going to die.
No, don't say that. I want them to live forever. I want to see Jackass 100. You know, dude, but it's just like, so like,
if they make another one, I'm going to go see it. I will go see it.
Absolutely.
And I will do it with shame in my heart, but I will go see it.
So I can't remember what Jackass it is. It might be 3, but I was introducing my son to the movies because, you know, I'm irresponsible.
Good. How old is your son now?
He's 7 right now. 7? Yeah. I think he was like 5.
No, he should not be watching Jackass. What are you doing?
Dude, I took him to Deadpool 2. So it's like, like you're talking to the wrong guy here.
Oh.
So I say him, like, for everything that I tell him, I'm like, you should watch this. You're going to like it. It's going to be funny. And his response to everything I tell him is like, no, it's going to be stupid. I don't want to watch it. He's like so much more mature than I am. And sometimes, you know, he's just like, no, I don't want to watch this. You're telling me to watch something silly. Like, that's his response. It's like, no, I don't want to watch this. And I'm like, just give it a chance. You're going to like it. He's like, no, I don't. What is it about? It's like these guys, they do. No, I don't want to see that. And I was just like, what are you, 50? Come and sit down and watch this goddamn movie. I have to pull rank. I'm your father. Do what your father tells you. Right. So I sit him down in front of the TV and I turn it on. And there's that scene where they got that giant hand that's like, they got that giant hand.
It's one of the best things they ever did. I think that's what I like so much about Jackass is because how do you even think this stuff up? And some of it's pretty simple, like bungee underpants and whatnot. And then some of it's really elaborate.
Yeah.
With the giant hand. And what drugs are you doing?
I don't know.
What drugs are you doing to sit where that pops into your head?
It's genius. It's genius. Mm-hmm. That's what I say. It's genius. Do more. And so like so my son's sitting there and he's just like, what's going on? And so he sees the giant hand and he's instantly curious, right? He's like, what is this? And you see the setup. You know what's coming. He's 5. It doesn't matter. He knows what's coming. He knows someone is going to get slapped by a giant hand, right? And so someone pulls that thing way back and it's wee man. He's like, hey man, come over here. I want to talk to you. I got something to show you. And so whoever it is, Bam or whoever is like, what, man? What's going on? Wow. The dude goes flying, right? And then my son can't stop laughing his ass off, right? And they do it like 4 or 5 more times, right? Yeah. And every single time he laughs his ass off. And it's just like, yes. That's my little man right there.
Yeah. Because Jackass is basically the Three Stooges. Let's be just that's all it is. It's the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to not laugh at it. And you're right. It is a guilty pleasure because you feel like you shouldn't be laughing at it, you know?
Yeah, you feel like okay, you're a 40-year-old, 45, whatever you are. You're like you're not 15, right? You
Right.
should,
Yeah.
but still, I sit there and it's just like But like the other one that was great. I skipped the really grotesque ones where like they like eat poop or whatever, Like I try not to
Yeah.
show the really kind of
Right.
weird ones, but there was that big one they
Or
did.
it's the one that they did where they basically put Steve-O
Yes.
in a porta potty and they like
Yes.
slungshot the porta
Yes.
potty using a crane.
I showed him that one. And he was laughing and gagging at the same time. He's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be, come on. That had to have been their intention. This is like, how can we make people want to vomit and laugh at the same time?
Yes. Yeah.
That particular scene, that particular clip, or whatever you want to call it, I fucking love it. It's genius because you see Steve-O just get covered up in poo
And
and
on that blue stuff.
the blue stuff, and he's throwing up.
He's gagging. Yeah. Yeah.
No, he throws up. He throws up in there, and then all this stuff. He comes out covered in this stuff. I was just like, oh man, that is yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm probably not the best father. Or maybe I am the best father.
Father of the year.
Father of the year right here.
Yeah, I mean, it could be worse. You could be doing these things to your son.
No. I couldn't. No, but I mean, I don't know. It's just
I don't know. I think I could see you setting up a giant hand to just like smack that kid like across the room. He
would probably get so pissed off.
Oh, I'm sure he would.
He's got such a temper on him too. It's funny. But yeah, no, I'll prank that kid every now and then. I'm such a see. This is probably why it's a guilty pleasure, because I see myself in those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think me and my friends never did anything so overtly violent with each other, But yeah, we were idiots. We did idiot things, just not to the same degree.
Yeah, now where it kind of like could send us to the hospital, possibly. Those, and I loved all those guys. I loved it when they did the one with the animals. I used to watch that all the time when it was Steve-O
and Chris Pontius.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, they all over the world. What is it called?
I can't read. Wild Boys.
Yes, Wild Boys. Man, that was a good show.
Yeah.
They're so stupid. It's just so stupid. It's just like, I know.
That's probably the appeal to it. It's sometimes you just need stupid.
Yes.
You need stupid, and it's like a release valve, because then you don't feel so stupid after you watch it, right? You build up all of these feeling stupid about the stupid things that you do every day, and it builds up a little subconscious tension, and then you watch Jackass and it's like a release valve and you stop feeling stupid about yourself.
Yeah. But then then
you start doing stupid things and building it up again, and then you need to watch Jackass again.
Yes. It's a vicious cycle.
All right. Well, then this is going to be my last guilty pleasure. And it is truly a guilty pleasure. I am a big, stupid sap. And I love me some good early 90s, late 80s romantic comedies.
Wow.
Stuff like Sleepless in Seattle just pulls me in. I get into it. I love it. Love it.
I don't like all of them. I do appreciate a good rom-com. I like, for example, even
Yeah.
though it has plenty of plot holes, I like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. That one,
Haven't seen it.
it's funny. It's funny. And what's her name? I can't remember her name. Goldie Hawn's daughter, Kate Hudson.
Kate Hudson. Yeah.
Kate Hudson, she's great in it. She's so cute. She's so like, lovable. It's great, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can appreciate myself some rom-coms.
It's just a sappiness to them. Stuff like Sleepless in Seattle's got to be like the model for romantic comedies. That's the movie that like defines the genre.
Yeah, I want to say, yeah.
And like I never get tired of that movie.
Huh.
I just I'm a big sap. I'm a big sap and I get into it and I get all emotional with it and it's a good it pains me to admit it, but I connect.
You see, I like rom-coms. I don't dislike them. I don't think I like them as much as you, where it's a guilty pleasure, but on the same kind of level as what you're talking about. And this is not so much a guilty pleasure as much as it is a kind of like a character flaw. But like if I get pulled in to a movie, and it's very easy, by the way, I am immersed in a movie. I am watching the movie. I am part of the movie in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that happens in the movie, it impacts me to the point that I cry, right? And that happens.
I cry in movies too.
But it happens with a lot of movies. And it happens in movies that probably shouldn't happen to. Like kung fu movies. Like, who cries in a kung fu movie?
You cry in kung fu movies?
I cried at if the movie is so good, I will cry. I will cry. I cried in Yip Man 4. I watched Yip Man 4.
Okay.
And I cried. I cried in The Fat Dragon. There's like no reason to cry, but I was like,
why would you cry at The Fat Dragon?
Yeah, I don't know. But like the crescendos, right? It goes up to the the third, the peak of the third act, and all the shit, the climax is coming and everything's happening. And there's so much stuff going on. And I'm like, this is so great. He's avenging whoever, it's just like, I just get caught up in it. And it's like, I'll sit there.
Are you like waving yourself? Like,
hey man,
like fanning your hands in front of your face because you're just so overcome.
Yeah, I'm trying not to make the mascara run. Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah, dude, but it's just like I don't have that feeling that you're talking about for rom-coms. I have it for all movies. And it doesn't matter what movie it is. It could be the stupidest movie. If I'm connected to it enough, I'll start crying. It's just
yeah. Well, sometimes I'll have an emotional reaction to a movie or a book if I'm reading, where I'm not necessarily having an emotional reaction because of the content. I'm having an emotional reaction just to how well made it is or how well written it is. Sometimes I'll get emotional. Like there was a book that I read called Everything is Illuminated that was the author Jonathan Safran Foer's first novel. And it's like a masterpiece. It's a book that is so good that it should go down as like classic literature,
Uh-huh.
And I remember while I was reading that book, there was a point at which I got overcome with emotion, not necessarily because of what was happening in the book, but just because it was like, it's so well written and so well made. It's like it, how people talk about like they get overwhelmed with like, because of they're looking at a painting or something.
Yeah.
It's like that, like having an emotional reaction because it's something is so well done.
Yeah. You're appreciating the craft.
Yeah.
I Yeah, no. I wish I could say it was from that kind of intellectual perspective. It's more from like I'm a silly sap, and I'm getting emotional because of the content, and I'm immersed. I'm sold. I'm totally in,
Yeah.
and like, and it doesn't matter what it is, but usually it's like, dude, like I cried when I saw fucking the Avengers Infinity War. I cried when I
I'm
saw.
sure a lot of people cried. I mean, come on.
I mean, I cried when in the last one, fucking fuck, I can't remember the fucking
Endgame?
Endgame. Yes, Jesus Christ, what's wrong with me? I cried with Endgame when Tony Stark
Well, of
snaps his
course you
fingers.
cried.
Of
Yeah.
course, because I'm a sap. But
Yeah. Of course, it's sad.
yeah, but like but I mean that's an action movie. That's an action
Yeah.
movie. It's an action comic book movie. How big a nerd do I
Yeah.
have to be? Like
Well, okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I would probably be very unpopular if I admitted that I didn't like Endgame all that much.
how dare you? Well, you're
Yeah.
lucky we only have like 30 followers.
Yeah, right. Right. This is going to be the thing that pushes us over, though.
It's gonna get us 1,000.
Is not my cousin Dan admits he didn't think Endgame was that great, and now
Oh,
we're just going to be pariahs on the internet.
there's gonna be so much hate mail. It's funny because I'm setting up the website as we speak. Not
Yeah,
as we speak, but it's in the process. I'll make sure to put on a form. Hey, if you want to send us hate mail.
yeah, and then just put my personal email address where it goes, where all of the contact forms collect.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd dox ourselves.
Yeah,
Come get us.
yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how many insane people would come after you for like saying that you hate Endgame.
Probably a lot.
You
I
don't like
didn't. I didn't hate it.
Wait a minute. So wait a minute. You don't like it at all? Or what's like I want to
I didn't. I just didn't think it was that great, and there were parts of it that there's so much of that movie for me that while I was watching it, and remember, I work in marketing now, so that's the way my mind works. I'm sitting there watching that movie. There's huge chunks of time of that movie that to me felt like, oh, they're conducting a focus group to see which characters they write spinoffs for.
huh.
That's what it felt like to me. I don't think it was a bad movie. I just didn't enjoy it that much.
Hmm.
And I also the climactic fight scene. And now I haven't seen the movie in a number of years now, but the big fight at the end uh, threw me out of it because I'm sitting there watching this, and in Infinity War, they basically what it was 11 of them together basically beat Thanos.
Yeah.
Like they beat him to the point where all Thor had to do was cut his arm off, and they won. And Thor instead doesn't do that, right?
Huh.
And so because Thor makes a bad choice, Thanos wins, right?
Yeah.
But it only took, I think it was 11 of them, 11 of the superheroes.
Yeah. I don't.
And really it was four of them that beat him to the ground,
Uh-huh.
working together. And then in Endgame, in the climactic fight, he's got 2 of the Infinity Stones.
In the climactic fight in the end,
Mm-hmm.
in the very end, all the stones are on the glove. He's fighting over the glove.
Right, but he doesn't actually have the stones. Like he doesn't have the power yet because he doesn't have the stones because they're in the glove, right?
Like at the end?
Yeah, in the big climactic battle.
In the big climactic battle, all the stones are on that glove that everybody's fighting over.
Right, but he doesn't have he doesn't Thanos himself does not have the power.
No.
Because right?
It's in the glove.
And
all
it's in the glove.
Yeah.
And so in that big climactic fight, the same guy who realistically, 4 of the Avengers were able to beat to the ground to the point where he was done, and then they lost because of a stupid decision on Thor's part. Now they're fighting a version of Thanos from an earlier timeline who doesn't have the power of the Infinity Stones, and it takes every fucking superhero in the known galaxy to beat him. It threw me out. It threw me out.
No, damn.
But that being said, I love the Marvel movies, and I didn't feel cheated by Endgame by any means. I just didn't. It was hard for me to accept that, like, all of a sudden it takes every known superhero to defeat a weaker version of Thanos.
Well, he was always powerful. This
Right.
is not your explanation. I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't do to me what it does to you.
Right.
But like,
he always had the powers of a Titan.
yes, he was very strong, super
Right.
strong, right?
But this is a guy who is not in command of the Infinity Stones as they're fighting him, and it takes really, because that setup actually feels a lot less climactic to me than the setup in the first movie.
I thought it was fantastic. I don't have the same problem because
and I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. That was
I am totally trying to change your mind. No, but it's no, you're I understand what you're saying, and it doesn't do that for me. I think because I never had that thought. Maybe I'm just
there's an easy answer for why it was written the way that it was written. And it's because people like fucking superheroes. A movie's more fun if you can shoehorn every superhero into a super climactic fight. It's going to be a better fight scene, and it was pretty good. It was a great fight scene, but it just that seed got into my head where it's like, well, why do they have to fight this guy so much harder when they proved that they didn't need that much power to beat him down before? I don't know, maybe because this time he's got the like huge intergalactic army and all that. I don't know. But
I think it's because in the first one, it's he already has a big portion of the glove, and he already has even more power than he had before, right?
Right.
So in the second one, he doesn't have that power.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not it's a game of keep away, and that's why it was more difficult because they, but you're right? Like they're like at one point, and especially at the end, right? Like Thor was able to chop his head off.
Yeah.
Why can't he just chop his head off again?
Yeah.
Just chop his head off, game over.
Right. Like in the first one, they basically proved that between Captain America and Thor, the two of them are strong enough to just physically defeat him.
Well, maybe not only defeat him, but there's enough of them, even like in the first one, right? Like,
right, yeah. But this is like the dumbest argument. We're arguing over. We're having we actually the superheroes,
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. No, you're right. I'm sure people are like, "What is wrong with these geeks?" No, you're right, and I think you planted that seed in my head now too. But I don't think it's going to bother me.
But what bothered me more about it was that they were clearly using so much, and there's nothing wrong with this, and it shouldn't bother me, especially when you're talking about franchise movies. But so much of that movie, what bothered me more about it was the amount of time that they spent using that movie to set up spinoffs. To set up all of this, the next spinoffs in the Marvel franchise. And again, it shouldn't bother me. That's how franchise movies are made.
Yeah. I don't know if I know what you're talking about, but I am on that train. I am totally about it. I don't care what they're doing. Sure, you might be right. I might even think you're right. It doesn't bother me only because I want more of it.
Yeah,
I am a
right.
comic book geek, which is on
And
my list of guilty pleasures,
yeah,
and I am all about that. Like, give
yeah,
me more. I'm fine with it. Whereas I know
right.
you're like, where's the end of this? Right? Well, how does?
Well, and I think I'm kind of in the same spot with both Marvel and Star Wars, at least the movies, where it's like I need a break. We need other movies because there were like 10 years there where there was almost nothing else other than Marvel or Star Wars movies. And like there I need something else. I need something original. I need something outside of these universes. I think I was on Marvel and Star Wars overload.
Yeah,
Although Rogue One was fucking kick ass.
I seen portions of it. I haven't finished it.
Oh, you could. Oh my god, Rogue One. Rogue One is potentially my favorite of all of the Star Wars movies, even including the original trilogy.
Wow, that's a big
It's
statement.
a big statement, and it's hard. It's hard to say because I just loved Rogue One was on every mark. It felt like Star Wars. The characters were Star Wars characters. The pacing, everything. It introduced the kind of dread that's been missing from Star Wars movies. Like even like Force Awakens is good, but you don't. Kylo Ren does not inspire the same kind of mysterious and mystical dread that Darth Vader does.
Yeah.
Right? In I think what I liked most about Rogue One is so far the first and only movie that delves into Star Wars universe without Jedi.
Yes.
And I mean, you have Vader in it at the very end, but the whole story moves around completely independent of Jedi versus Sith, you know, and it's all regular people. All of the characters are just regular people, and it really dives in. It creates it's world building where it creates the world of what this Star Wars galactic universe is like for just the regular people in it. Mandalorian does a lot of that.
Yeah, but there's some
Um,
Jedi in that now.
but Mandalorian did a really great job of that until they started introducing Jedi, and I I have nothing bad to say about Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that introduces a whole new level of intricacy into the Star Wars universe.
So, um, the funny thing about Star Wars, I like Star Wars, and I wanted to introduce it to the kids, and I tried to get my son into it, and like everything, my son's like, I don't want to watch this.
Yeah, of course.
This sucks. I don't care to watch this. And I'm like, just give it a chance, right?
Yep.
I kind of did the same thing that I did. I do this a lot with him, and this is one of the times he shut me down. And in the middle of the movie, like he's like, "This is boring," and he just gets up and walks out. And I'm like, "This is Star
Which
Wars."
the first one,
The first, well, yeah,
New Hope.
New Hope, yes.
Oh my God, really?
He got up and walked away. My son is too
Oh,
cool for me. Like he is.
You know what is interesting though? Something I've learned because my boy's a newer generation, and his introduction to Star Wars were the prequels,
Oh Jesus!
and he loves them.
Really?
He loves them. They're his favorite. They're his favorite of the Star Wars movies because
Wow.
they're the movies that introduced it to him.
Yes.
And it forced me to kind of rethink. Like, no, I don't value the prequels all that much. I don't think they're very good.
Mm-hmm.
But I can kind of get it where even with all the boring stuff and the bad acting, Lucas was making movies for kids, and kids who saw those movies when they were kids love them.
Yeah. And my son's just like, he just got up and it's like, this is geeky shit, and walked out.
Oh man.
Yeah, he like smashed me, man. He was just like, no, I'm not watching this. This is boring.
I don't know if I could recover from that.
He's just cooler than I am, I guess. I don't know. Thank God for that.
I mean, that doesn't take much.
Well, he's a cool kid. He's much cooler than I am. He likes Jackass. He doesn't care for the nerd space stuff.
Oh, wow. Man, I hope that changes, but
we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to stop trying because I was like, try this. And he's like, no, I don't want to. This looks dumb. I'm like, dude, why is everything I show you got to be dumb?
That's just going to get worse.
It's
going to get to the point where, because like I don't try much anymore with my boy because anything that I try to introduce him to, it's the same thing. It's like, I'm not into it. I don't want to do it, whatever. But if he discovers it on his own, he loves it, And like the number of times where I've tried to introduce him to music or movies or books, and it's because I'm the one who's introducing it to him. It's like, no, it's going to be lame and I'm not interested, or it's not something that I want, it's not my kind of thing or whatever. The number of times where I've tried to introduce him to something and he's just basically like either refused or just been not enthusiastic enough to actually try it. And then like 2 months later, he comes and he's like, I totally found this book and it's awesome. And it's one of the books that I tried to get him to read, or I totally found this movie, this awesome movie, or whatever it is, cartoons. Oh my God, it's so awesome. You got to watch it. Oh, you got to listen to this band. And it's like, dude, I played that for you. Yeah. And you gave it 5 seconds and told me that it was junk. Like,
yeah.
But because you found it on your own,
it's
beautiful.
Yeah. I'm totally like, that makes sense. It's just like you're dad. You're dad. You're not cool. Yep. You're dad. Right. But damn. I thought I had a few more years before he started doing that kind of stuff. Oh, that's just my dad. That old guy. He doesn't know anything.
Your boy sounds like he's building a great foundation for a lot of attitude.
Well, it's funny because again, not the best father. I don't treat him like, I don't treat him like a child. I treat him like he's one of my boys.
Yeah.
Like one of my homies.
Dude, don't get down on yourself about
no. I'm not.
Nobody's the best father. Yeah. You know what I mean? Everybody, you're stumbling through it best that you know how, and as far as I can tell, you're doing a pretty good job. So,
well, thank you. I think
aside from showing your boy Jackass, But if he's not doing the Jackass stuff, then you're doing something right.
Well, I think it's a lesson in this is what idiots look like. Don't do this. Yeah. So I'm hoping that maybe he's picking up those lessons instead of saying, oh, this is what I should aspire to.
Yeah, right.
We need to find a crane and a porta potty right now.
So what are you doing today? I'm gonna track down a crane and a porta potty. What?
Yeah, me and my other friends.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be great.
It's like, we got a video camera. What are you doing? Who are you doing this with? Yeah. Oh, just my friends. Oh shit. Well, I have one more, and it's a guilty pleasure, and it's mostly because nobody else. Just like what guilty pleasures are like, nobody else appreciates it at all. Very few people do. And it's a little embarrassing. So, like all guilty pleasures. And it's a genre of music called freestyle music. And it's not it's not freestyling like freestyle rap.
Mm-hmm.
It's freestyle music, which is not that. It's like it's a genre of music that kind of was given birth by way of disco and has incorporated 80s pop, right? And it's funny because every now and then a new song pops up and it's freestyle. And this is 80s music. It's late 80s or 80s to like early 90s music. This music died a long time ago. And people are still making music, which is funny. And it's just like, wait a minute, I never heard this song before. But it's the exact same style. And it has all those twangy, poppy, what
Give me
used
an
to
example.
Lisa and the Cold Jam is considered
Really?
freestyle. Yes. The Cover Girls is considered freestyle.
Yeah. Okay. You should feel guilty.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember even back then, because what part of the nostalgia of freestyle music is, you get, and it's not just freestyle. It's just like I would get house music or whatever, but house music isn't considered lame, right? House music,
Kind of.
yeah, house music even today kind of, if you call it like retro house music or whatever you want to call it, but house music from when I was a kid,
Right. Yeah.
that's
as opposed
considered
to EDM.
Yeah.
Like somebody breaks out a Skrillex album, they should be ridiculed. That person should be ridiculed.
But like freestyle's not it's not that. So like I remember like I was in the car, it was all my homies, we're driving, and it's just like, dude, so like I had a tape of the freestyle mix in the tape player in the car, and he's like, dude, there's like 5 guys in this car. Can you not play fucking freestyle right now, dude? I was like, all right, bro, I got a house mix right here for you, bro. Shit.
That's like putting on, Backstreet Boys or something.
Yeah, it's
the same kind of level of let's jam out to In Sync.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is
on the block.
It's exactly that, because it's love music. It's all love music. So it's just like, dude, why are we listening to love music, man? Put on some fucking house, man. Let's just listen to some beats, bro. Like, what the fuck? I'm like, all right, man, you're right. Yeah, this looks not so good. Let's let's put something else in. But yeah, and so like that music would be like Johnny O, Cynthia, like I said, the Cover Girls. There's another Sweet Sensation.
So basically modernized disco. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I get how you're making that connection there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. For all of the guilty pleasures talk that we're talking about, I think an important thing, because every time we talk about guilty pleasure, with the exception of when you brought up freestyle and I told you that, yes, you should feel guilty about that. Both of us, our reactions to it, and then with the exception of the using Spaghettios as dip, but like our reactions to everything has been like, oh, that's not something you should feel guilty about, And I think it's because you shouldn't feel guilty about the stuff you like. Who cares if it makes you a dork or whatever? You don't have to care about any of that stuff. It's not there's not enough time in our lives to actually feel guilty or ashamed of the stuff that we like,
I agree. That's a good point, man. Like, in the end of the day, right? Like, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck what people think, right?
Yeah.
Which is why we're on the podcast talking about this stuff, because we don't give an F.
Yeah.
We don't really care. It's just like, we know we shouldn't like it, but we like it anyway. And so here it is.
And yeah, well, we're all better off when we can get to a point where, like, I could not give less of a shit if somebody gives a damn,
Yeah. And it's weird too.
If I want to sit down and listen to a Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass album, fuck it, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, like, fuck it. Yeah. Yeah, and really, like, why is somebody else worried about what you're listening to, what you're eating, how you eating it? Who cares? Like, why do you care?
Yeah, right. Although I will say, I don't know how this connects, but when I brought up Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, it reminded me of it. Is at one point probably like 20 years ago. My parents were moving. They were moving out of there, selling their house and moving. And my dad decided at that time that he was done with records. He was getting rid of his record player, getting rid of all his vinyl. And he asked me, do you want to go through my record collection before I give it away? See if there's anything in there that you want. And I got really excited because at the time I was into vinyl. And I mean, I still kind of am, but anymore, it's just not that big a deal to me, you know. But I was super excited about it because my dad was, you know, when he was becoming an adult and getting it was when rock and roll was the blossoming, right? We're talking about the mid to late 60s and the early 70s. And so I was really excited to start going through his record collection and finding stuff that might be rare or valuable or just cool, you know, finding, you know, old Beatles albums or whatnot, you know, Led Zeppelin stuff. And I started going through his record collection, and it blew my mind because all of the records it was like ABBA and like Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass and like elevator music, basically, you know, like,
wow.
and I'm going through, and there was like, that was all of it was like that. All of it was like this. I don't know who listens to this music kind of stuff, you know? And it was so heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking because it was like, how did you miss the 60s? How did you miss the 60s? What were you doing? Apparently you were listening to like elevator music. Like, what was going on? How did you miss this stuff? not even like a Janis Joplin album. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Where were you?
Like a Beatles album would have been amazing.
Well, yeah.
Like why didn't you have a Beatles vinyl?
How does it happen? And I mean, he had hundreds of records, if not thousands of records. And it was all stuff that like, and there was a lot of it where like, while I was going through it, I was like, I've never heard of this. I don't know what it is. I'm going to listen to it. And I listened to it and it's the same kind of stuff. Like, I don't even know what you would call it. It's not like soft jazz. I like, there was, to be fair, there were a lot of like big band jazz stuff in there, like Benny Goodman and stuff like that. That was pretty good that I took, you know. But it was like music that as I was listening to it, that like it sounded like TV theme show music from the 60s is what it brought to mind.
Oh man, that's disappointing.
It was heartbreaking. Not only because like I wasn't getting anything out of it that I thought was going to be really cool, but also like it opened a new door into like my dad's psyche that where it was just like, where were you doing during the 60s? What were you doing?
He's doing what everybody else was. He was working.
I like not a single rock and roll album, not a single one. And who wasn't listening, especially when like my dad was in his 20s in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
How do you not have a single Who album? How do you not have, you know, Kinks or something? What happened to you?
I wonder what it was.
There was a lot of polka in there, a lot of polka music.
Okay.
And again, like my dad is huge into classical music. So there was a lot of classical music, you know. I love classical music too, so I don't want to put it down. But like as far as the quote unquote mainstream popular music, it was all stuff that I seriously don't even know who was listening to it.
So I think now that you kind of mentioned that, of course, your dad is Polish.
Yeah, but he's not from Poland.
Yeah, but
my mom is from Poland. My dad is from Chicago.
I can kind of see where. Well, I thought his parents were Polish.
No, I mean the family's Polish, but my dad's grandparents
are Polish.
Came from Poland.
Okay, and so that he still listens to polka is kind of interesting.
Well, polka got really popular in the late 50s, early 60s in the US. There was like a polka craze. And it's funny because there's a whole category of polka music called American polka. And there's a subcategory of that called Chicago polka.
What?
Yes, Chicago polka is its own thing. But American polka sounds almost nothing like Polish polka. But I think American polka is what you'd be familiar with. Anyway, there was like a polka craze in the late 50s. It became a super popular thing in the U.S.
That's interesting because I wonder how it got to Mexico. Because eventually it got to Mexico and it became banda, right? Yeah, and so it's very similar to polka.
I think I had read somewhere that there were a lot of German immigrants to Mexico at some point. That's probably where it came from in Mexican music.
Yes, the Mennonites. There's quite a few colonies of Mennonites in Durango, especially where my mother's from. In Mexico, they make cheese. It's funny because they make lots of cheese and that's how they make their living out there, I guess. Mm-hmm. I mean, among other things, but they have a funny history. And so or a reputation, I should say. They have a funny reputation of kind of being hard bargainers and maybe even kind of a little bit like swindlers.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure. I might be getting this wrong, so don't quote me on that, but
it's down. It's in the record.
Well, anyway, they sell cheese and other weird little dairy products because I guess they have very few machines. They almost live like
Amish. Yeah,
like Amish
and Amish are some similarities there in how they reject technology.
Yeah, but they have, I think they have tractors on this part in those colonies. But yeah, and they're white, dude, like whiter than white. I'm like, where did you come from? Because I went to Mexico once, to visit family a long time ago, and it was like the worst 2 weeks of my life. But anyway, because I mean, well, they don't live in the city; they live in the mountains, you know, and there's no plumbing up there, and it was just not cool. Anyway. It was rough, dude. It was rough. I was like, wow, you people live out here. You guys are amazing. But yeah, they like, I'd see them and they would walk into town and I'm like, where did you come from? Like, you are definitely not Mexican. Like, you're not just a white Mexican. You're not Mexican.
Yeah.
And they're like, they spoke Spanish with like a weird German accent or like, and I was just like, what? Just like,
I bet it's a lot like Mennonites here in the U.S. or Mennonites or Amish or like Pennsylvania Dutch, where they live in communities where they're basically sheltered from the rest of society, and they all have their own accent. Like Amish people have an accent. Pennsylvania Dutch have a very pronounced accent.
Yeah, it's very much like that. They have their own weird accent, and it just sounds like someone who doesn't practice Spanish. And it's really interesting because I'm like, how do you live in Mexico and speak with an accent? I'm like, or live in Mexico and speak with a white person accent. It's just weird. And like these people live in Mexico their whole lives.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's so many cultures and subcultures and stuff that I am not aware of. And when I stumble upon one, I always think, holy cow, this exists.
Yeah.
And Mennonites is one of those really weird. But anyway, yeah. So there are Mennonites in Mexico. And maybe they probably brought the polka, and because polka is super popular in that particular region of Mexico where Durango is.
Yep.
And they used to call it banda. Now they call it Duranguense, which is Durango, the state of Mexico. And so that's what they like to play. And they got the accordion and the whole shebang, except they dress up like cowboys.
Yeah. And
it was one of those things of music that my mom would play, and I always hated.
Yeah.
She would blast that like she was jamming, like it's our jam. And I was like, this stuff sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like hillbilly music.
Yeah.
You know? So if you don't have a taste for it, I mean, it's very, very bombastic and loud and fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's very bombastic for sure. I haven't listened to it in a while, so I can't say. I don't know if it's fast, but it's just not my cup of tea. And I was just like, no. And yeah, my mom, we're hillbillies. It's it's funny.
Well, that's not what I was saying. I was saying that's probably why you don't like it.
Well,
you know?
I mean, if you would have seen where she grew up, you'd say, yeah. The hillbillies. So like my Spanish is weird to begin with. So, but anyway, that's all a different topic. So, brother, we just did 2 hours.
Yeah. I think we've hit the topic hard enough.
I think so. I think we beat it up pretty good.
All right, man. Well, it's been a blast.
For sure, man. Thanks, man. Always a pleasure, brother.
Always. And enjoy those guilty pleasures. No guilt in it. No shame. No shame.
For sure.
No shame.
No matter how you eat it.
Yeah. Except for the freestyle music. No shame.
All right. This is Edgar OtraVez and not my cousin Dan. Thanks so much. We'll catch you next time.
Play us out with some polka.
The end. Music Overload by AGST and Freue und Alle by Trabant can be found over at Epidemic Sound. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope if you have a guilty pleasure that it's okay for you to like that guilty pleasure. If you want to eat my fruity Pebbles from a giant cup, then it's your right. It's a free country. Do what you want. If you like what you hear, make sure you like and subscribe and do all that stuff over at wherever you hear your podcast at. Also, don't forget to go and peruse our store online at shop.theflowrollpodcast.com and follow us on Instagram at theflowroll. We're working currently on putting together our website. You'll be able to find it at theflowrollpodcast.com. There you'll find all our content centralized in one location along with all the other things we offer. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you next time. Bye.